The night sky above Colorado looked calm, but the world below it was not. Cities still glowed and roads still moved, yet every screen carried the same warning feeds. Satellites at the edge of the solar system had sent back images no one wanted to see. Dark shapes, smooth and silent, moving with slow purpose. They were not comets and not drifting wrecks. They were vessels, and they were coming. Cole sat in the dim control room of the North American Deep Space Array with tired eyes and a cold cup of coffee. His job was routine on most days. He listened to the quiet of space and filtered meaningless noise. Small bursts, radiation hiss, broken echoes. Tonight was different. The noise had shape, a pattern hidden inside randomness. It made his skin crawl, not from fear but from strange focus. He leaned closer to his screen and ran the scan again. The waveform repeated like a soft breath, steady, controlled. Not like alien chatter they had recorded before. This was different, closed, calm, almost familiar. On the far side of the station, Daniel Brooks argued softly with a supervisor. His voice carried just enough tension to show his worry. Reports from Europe and Asia said the same thing. The objects had passed the belt with ease. Human tech could not read their engines or energy source. They moved as if space itself welcomed them. Tapped a command and isolated the signal. His fingers moved slower as he studied it. He frowned. The internal rhythm matched human design logic, machine but guided by emotion patterns. That should not have been possible. He called out low and careful, "Daniel, come look at this." Daniel walked over, rubbing his jaw. "What now?" Another ghost echo. "No," said, "this one is real and it sounds wrong or right. I cannot tell." They watched as the signal looped again. Soft pulses, then silence, then a faint surge like distant thunder. Somewhere in orbit above Earth, Grant stood inside the command ring of Orbital Defense Platform Atlas 1. His uniform was pressed but his eyes were tired. A live projection of the alien fleet hovered before him. Each point of light marked one unknown ship. Hundreds, maybe more beyond sensor range. Did not speak. He listened to the calm voice of Hart through his earpiece. Her tone was firm, but even she could not hide the fear under it. They are inside outer perimeter now. No hostile fire yet, no transmission, no response to our hails. Watched as one of the objects shifted vector slightly, as if testing boundaries. Keep shields at full and tell ground control to remain ready. We do nothing unless they act first. Back on Earth, worked through endless data lines in a quiet research lab near Denver. Her field was deep space signal origin mapping. She had been dragged from sleep when the alert came through. Now she stared at wave samples from and frowned. "This signal is not alien," she murmured, "at least not like any recorded set. It is structured, layered, nearly musical." Nodded across the open call line. "That is what concerns me. If it came from them, then why does it sound like us?" Adjusted the filter and ran it through cognitive pattern software. Visual blocks reshaped into spirals and coded beats. Ancient symbols repeated inside the data but not in any language file. Yet the flow mimicked human logic too closely to dismiss. Outside the lab, sirens wailed across the city. People crowded streets just to look up. Some prayed. Some recorded the sky. Children clutched their parents and asked why the stars looked strange tonight. News anchors spoke faster and faster, filling the air with speculation. Invasion. End of days. First contact gone wrong. Still, no official word came that could calm the fear. Leaned back and closed his eyes for a moment. In his mind, the signal repeated again. He whispered, almost to himself, "It is not a warning. It feels like a knock." In low Earth orbit, watched the forward scanners spike suddenly. The alien fleet stopped. Every vessel held position in perfect stillness. No movement, no energy flux change, just silence. Broke the quiet link. They have halted, all of them. Something forced a pause. Narrowed his eyes. What did we do? Nothing, no command sent from us. On the ground, system began to glow with new data. The signal had changed. Where it had once been soft, it now flared with clarity. A faint modulation shaped into tonal waves that carried intent. Not words yet, but purpose. Its pulse rose. It is reacting, like something heard us first. Typed faster, it is not reacting to us. It is reacting to them. They both watched as a new stream broke through the cosmic hiss. A direct corridor of transmission aimed not from the alien fleet, but from far beyond it. Deep, ancient space. Somewhere no map chart had named. In that silence, Daniel spoke. If this is not them and not us, then who sent it? Stared at the screen and felt a strange calm form around his fear. Whoever sent it, they know us. The pattern is human, too human. The far speakers in the control room gave a soft tone, an alert for a classified priority channel, and both froze as the translation engine began to assign structure to the signal. Symbols turned to soft lines, lines shaped into fragments, and then faint sound began to grow. Not words yet, but breath-like sound. Slow, steady, controlled. The cadence of someone who waited a very long time to speak. In orbit, saw the alien fleet respond. Several ships shifted backwards, slowly, like cautious animals stepping away from fire. Their formation bent under the invisible push of the signal wave. Whispered they are afraid. Did not reply. His eyes remained locked on the shifting shapes beyond the stars. On Earth, the first faint syllable reached the human network. The system could not process it yet, but the emotional wave spread nonetheless. People across the globe felt it as a sudden hush. Panic softened into confusion, confusion into uneasy stillness. His hands trembled. It is trying to speak through our systems, he said. Nodded, and it knows exactly how. The signal pulsed again, more clear this time. The tone deepened. A simple shape vibrated through the room, not loud but weighted with history. Somewhere beyond the planets, the alien fleet held its breath. And for the first time since the warning images appeared, Earth was not the only world being watched. Leaned forward once more, eyes wide but calm. Whatever was coming through the void was not here to destroy. It was here to answer something forgotten. Outside, the sky remained dark and unmoving. Stars held in place. Time stretched thin. And in that fragile quiet, the universe waited as Earth's first true reply trembled on the edge of sound. The silence that followed the first sound was heavier than fear. It wrapped around the world like a soft blanket made of cold air. People who had been shouting only moments before now stood still. Even machines seemed to hum more quietly as if they too were listening. Cole watched the waveform crawl across his screen. The signal no longer looked wild or chaotic. It was clean, smooth, shaped with care. He felt as if someone far away was learning how to breathe through human wires. Leaned closer to her own display. She adjusted minor filters, careful not to break the flow. The tone has shifted again, she said softly. It is stabilizing. In orbit, Grant tightened his jaw as he studied the alien fleet. Several vessels now angled away from Earth, not retreating fast but slowly, as if stepping back from something sacred. Their previous confidence had cracked. Heart broke the hush over the channel. I have never seen them behave like this. They are reacting to the transmission like it holds authority. Nodded once even though she could not see him. Keep recording everything. We may never witness this again. Back on the ground, Daniel Brooks entered fresh data into the core system. Every global relay had synchronized without command. Clocks aligned. Frequency bands settled. The world's scattered networks moved like one body with a single pulse. He glanced at. This signal is forcing unity through our systems, like it knows how we are built. Did not answer. His eyes were fixed on the screen where the faint pulse had begun to layer into new shapes. Small fluctuations at the edge of the pattern showed something trying to form structure, not code but intent. Ran a deep origin trace. The line stretched far beyond the alien fleet, beyond mapped stars, past faded signals recorded centuries ago. It went into dark margins of space where no probe had reached. "This point does not exist on our charts," she said, "yet it is precise. It knows this location and it knows us." A new vibration slid through the room, softer now, almost gentle. The speakers converted the pattern into tone, and for a brief moment the shape sounded like the echo of a distant voice. Felt his throat dry. He whispered, "It is not only talking to the aliens, it is talking to us." Outside, city crowds had grown quieter. People still stared upward, but the wild panic had faded into tense awe. News drones hovered, but their commentary slowed, words chosen with care as if even speech might disrupt what was unfolding overhead. In the operations hub beneath the station, a new visual feed activated. Recordings from long-range probes replayed old data linked to the signal, strange echoes from decades before, bursts that had once been dismissed as errors. Now connected, they told a silent story. Daniel scrolled through them. These patterns go back before modern, before deep listening arrays. Something has been calling for a very long time. Leaned back slowly, or waiting. Above, watched the first alien vessel drift farther away. Its dark hull caught faint starlight, but no weapons lit. The shift was steady and deliberate. Behind it, others followed, forming a cautious arc. His voice softened. "Command wants to know if we should pursue or defend." Kept his eyes on the stars. "Tell them we hold. Let them move. We will not chase fear into the dark." Back in the lab, software transformed another layer of the signal into abstract visuals. Lines coiled together, forming symbols that resembled human geometric order. Not letters, but meanings. The shapes repeated, then settled into rhythm. Her brow knit. These patterns represent a hierarchy, something old, something that recognizes rank and role. Nodded slowly, like a forgotten language that never lost its memory. The tone deepened again, and for the first time a fragment of actual sound slipped through. Breath shaped into almost syllables, not clear words but close enough to send chills across every listener. Daniel stepped back a half pace. "Did you hear that?" Did not move, yes, and it was not random. His eyes widened as the translation system overlaid faint phonetic markers. The structure aligns with early human phoneme patterns. It is trying to match our speech models. Swallowed hard. It knows how we speak because it remembers when we learned. Beyond the atmosphere, the alien fleet's movement slowed further. Several craft rotated to defensive alignment, but even that seemed hesitant. Their formation showed respect, not threat. Whispered again, "They are not just afraid, they are recognizing something." Felt a strange tightness in his chest. It was not fear. It was a weight of something older, like standing before a silent monument. On Earth, the signal strengthened. Power grids adjusted to carry the load. No destruction followed. Instead, the systems adapted, almost welcomed the strain, as if guided by hidden hands. Watched every meter. The waveform now pulsed with controlled rise and fall, an echo of breath, a pause, then another faint shape of sound. This time a pattern formed that felt intentional, slow, deliberate, shaped for understanding. Spoke quietly, "It is preparing a message, not just to warn the fleet, to announce something." Daniel folded his arms. "Announce what?" Before she could respond, the speakers shifted again. The tone gained clarity. It dropped into a simple, solemn rhythm that resonated through walls and bone alike. Even the air felt heavier under it. Leaned forward. The system confirmed partial translation. Still unstable, but meaning flickered at the edges like light through dust. In orbit, saw the alien ships freeze in place. No drift, no motion, total stillness. They held as if awaiting judgment. Exhaled slowly. Something older than them has just entered the conversation. Back in the station, screen flashed new lines of data. Symbols now aligned into repeatable structure. Not chaotic, not wild, ordered and calm. Whispered, "It is not speaking for battle. It is speaking for command. Another pulse rolled through the network, and this time the first clear echo of a word-like sound trembled through every connected system. Soft, low, almost mournful. The world listened, not knowing if it stood at the edge of salvation or revelation. But one truth was clear within the silence. Whatever voice traveled from the dark, it had reached its home at last. And the stars, for a moment, chose to wait. The first clear word did not sound like any language on earth, but it still felt familiar. It slid through the speakers in a low tone, calm and slow, as if the voice behind it had no need to rush. The sound carried weight. It carried age. It carried something that made even machines pause between cycles. Cole sat very still in front of his console. His fingers hovered above the keys but did not move. He could feel his own heartbeat matching the slow rhythm of the signal. Somewhere behind him, Daniel Brooks took a careful step closer, as if approaching a wild animal that had chosen not to bite. Watched her screen as the translation system tried to follow the flow. Lines of code blinked and shifted. The software reached into old language trees, ancient phonetic records, and structured noise samples, trying to match a sound that seemed to have one foot in every pattern, and yet belonged to none. "This is not simple speech," said quietly. "It is layered. There is meaning under the sound." Daniel glanced at her. "Can we understand it?" "Not yet," she answered, "but it is trying to help us." Another wave of sound moved through the room. This time, the signal broke into 3 short pulses, each one followed by a soft fall like a long exhale. The machines responded faster now. The translation system adjusted on its own, guided by the signal's own corrections. It was as if the voice on the other side could see the software, could understand its struggle, and was gently pushing it in the right direction. Across the world, network engineers worked to keep power grids stable. One of them, Price, sat in a crowded control center in Virginia, eyes locked on a main display that showed global network health. Tiny points of light flickered over a map of Earth, each one representing a relay, a line, a tower, a node. "This kind of load should be crushing us," she said under her breath. A colleague beside her shrugged helplessly. "The demand is off the charts, but the systems are adapting." Narrowed her eyes. Circuits that had always been fragile now held steady. Older lines that should have burned out were actually running smoother. Software that had glitches for years seemed to correct itself, folding into the new rhythm of the signal. She typed a few quick commands and opened a low-level diagnostic. Her screen filled with flowing code, some of which she recognized, some of which she did not. "This is not ours," she whispered. "What?" "The adjustments," she said. "This optimization. No one on our teams wrote this. It is like our systems are being tuned from the outside." She sent a snapshot to Central Analysis. Within seconds, her console pinged with a direct link from lab. Appeared on a small window, her face lit by shifting data lights. She said, "We are seeing the same thing on our end. The signal is reshaping our systems, but not to break them. It is making them ready." "Ready for what?" asked. Hesitated for a moment, ready to listen better. High above Earth, Grant stood at the main viewport of Atlas I and watched the alien fleet with quiet attention. What had once been a steady, confident formation now looked fractured. Ships held at awkward angles, as if anxious. Some had pulled farther back, others hung uncertainly near the previous boundary. Hart's voice came through the earpiece, clipped but steady. "Long-range scans confirm no weapon charge buildup. They are not preparing to fire." Watched a cluster of alien vessels near the lunar orbit line. They had stopped just short of it, like guests who feared crossing a threshold without permission. "They are holding at the edge," he said, like something told them they are not allowed to come closer. What could do that? Did not answer right away. In all his training, in all his years of studying alien contact reports, nothing like this had been imagined. No manual had a chapter for unseen voices from beyond known space. Back on the ground, the translation system finally caught hold of a pattern. A soft chime sounded through the room. Screen flashed a new overlay. Partial semantic anchor established. The console read. His heart pounded faster. She took a breath and tried to keep her voice level. The system has found a base structure. It can now track repeated core elements. So what does that mean? Daniel asked. It means, she said, the next words might make sense. Another wave came. Longer this time. It rolled through the network like distant thunder. Watched her grid map shiver, then settle again with even more stability. I do not know what you are, she whispered at the screen, but you are making our world stronger with every pulse. In the deep space array, listened with his eyes closed. The sound brushed against his thoughts like soft fingers. Each pulse carried emotion, not like human emotion exactly, but something close. A sense of return, recognition, duty. The translation system chimed again. The speakers reshaped the sound. This time when the voice spoke, something changed. It was still foreign, still deep. But inside the rolling tone, a faint, almost human word formed. Not perfect, but clear enough to pierce the air. Heritage. His eyes snapped open. What was that? Daniel asked, his voice tight. Stared at the screen. The system believes the closest word is heritage, or legacy, or inheritance. The voice spoke again. The same low tone, the same calm measure. More fragments slipped through. Line. Home. Return. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Swallowed, it is talking about us. Nodded slowly, not as victims, as something that belongs to it. In orbit, received a data burst from ground. The single word translation scrolled across his display. Heritage. He repeated it under his breath. That is not how an enemy speaks to a target. Listened in on the shared channel. I am forwarding this to World Command. They are asking for interpretation. Tell them, said, that we may not be the weak side of this story. Back in the control center, watched as new subroutines appeared in the grid control software. They were not written in any known human coding style, yet the system executed them without error. These changes are guiding power to specific relay points, she said. The signal is building a path. A path to what her colleague asked. Tried to follow the flow. Each adjusted node formed part of a larger pattern. When she zoomed out, lines connected across continents, across oceans, between orbital platforms and ground stations. From above, it looked like a vast web of light. A path to every ear we have, she answered. It wants to talk to all of us at once. His console flashed again. New translation values aligned. The system now marked stable equivalents for several base sound units. The next sequence hit with steady strength. This time the voice did not feel far away. It felt close, as if it stood in the room with them, speaking through invisible lungs. This is it, whispered. The speakers vibrated. The waveform smoothed. And then, in slow, careful rhythm, the voice spoke a sentence that the system could finally shape into human words. You were not born alone. The room went quiet. No one dared move. Another breath-like pause. The signal adjusted again, correcting its own errors. You were not made small. Daniel stared at the output text on the screen. This cannot be right. Shook her head gently. The confidence value is high. The structure is sound. This is really what it is saying. Felt something click inside his mind. Pieces of old questions and half-remembered theories fell into place. Ancient myths of stars and gods. Stories of beings who came from the sky and taught fire and language. What if those were not myths at all, but broken memories? In orbit, display updated with the same line. He read it once, twice. You were not born alone. He looked back at the alien fleet. They now sat in an uneven arc, their previous tight formation gone. No ship crossed the lunar orbit line. None dared. They looked like soldiers who just realized someone higher outranks them, said softly. Higher than them murmured. On Earth, watched as one more wave of the signal rolled through the grid. All across the planet, lights flickered once, then steadied stronger than before. Hospitals, shelters, homes, stations. Nothing failed. We should be collapsing, she said, but we are not. His console showed a new alert. Secondary pattern detected. Potential embedded command sequence. He frowned. Command sequence. Moved closer to his screen. The signal carries two parts, she said. One is language, the other is something else. What's something else? Daniel asked. Looked at the deeper wave plot. Beneath the main tone, a faint, repeating structure beat like a second heart. It did not form words, it formed instructions. It is talking to us, she said, and at the same time it is talking to our machines. The next line of translation scrolled. You are sleeping. Another pause. We kept your place. His mouth felt dry. This is not just a warning to the fleet. This is a message to us. Nodded, it is telling us who we are. Received a new brief from Deep Analysis. A short summary blinked at the bottom of his display. Preliminary conclusion, he read. Voice claims humans are heirs to prior stellar authority. He almost laughed, but the sound died before it formed. Heirs to what? Listened in silence. If this is true, she said, then our history is incomplete. Stared at the stars, or erased. He thought of old ruins, of lost records, of gaps in human knowledge that historians had filled with guesses. If someone had wanted to hide a deeper origin, all it would take was time and control. Back on the ground, watched as defensive satellites received new firmware packets without human input. Flags that would normally mark intrusion stayed silent. The system accepted the changes as if they had been authorized at the highest level. She quickly accessed one of the satellite's logs. New routines had been installed. Targeting systems now ran predictive models not written by any known defense team. Shield modulation patterns had changed, adapting to energy signatures that matched the alien fleet. She called immediately. Our systems are changing themselves. The satellites are upgrading beyond anything we designed. Replied with a steady voice. Do they show any sign of turning against us? No, if anything, they are protecting us better than before. Then let it happen, said. Someone built a back door into our own future, and it is opening now. Studied the command pattern again. The more he looked, the more he saw intention. The sequence did not feel alien. It felt like a long-delayed update finally reaching devices that had been waiting in standby mode since the day they were launched. We thought we were building these systems from scratch, he said, but something in our design was guided. By who? Daniel asked. Looked at the waveform of the voice. Maybe by whoever is speaking now. Another translated line appeared. You were hidden. Another. We were bound. The lights in the room flickered once more. No one panicked. They had all grown used to the rhythm of the signal now. It was like the pulse of a giant heart somewhere in the dark. In orbit, watched as the alien fleet began to shift again. Not forward this time. Back. The vessels at the front of the formation slowly retreated, inching away from the lunar line. Reported quickly. Their engines are active. Vector shows withdrawal pattern. Exhaled a breath he did not realize he had been holding. They are leaving. Not all the way, said, but they are pulling out of attack range. Watched as the distance between Earth and the nearest alien vessel increased. The line that once threatened the planet now bent outward, like a great tide slowly drawing back from the shore. This is not a tactical retreat, he said. This is something else. Fear suggested. Respect replied. On Earth's grid map shifted again. Energy flow stabilized at a new baseline that was higher than anything recorded before, yet the systems held. We are stronger now than we were an hour ago, she said quietly. Saw a final translation line appear at the bottom of his screen for that cycle. You will remember. He stared at those words. They did not sound like a threat. They sounded like a promise or a command. Sat down slowly. We have lived our whole lives thinking we were small, thinking we were new. Now something out there is telling us we are old, that we belong to a story bigger than we ever imagined. And the alien said, looked at the distant star map on her screen where the fleet's icons were moving back, away from Earth. They thought we were weak, easy to claim. Now they see we are claimed already. Watched the last of the forward alien vessels cross back beyond the lunar orbit line. They stopped there, as if that boundary had been carved in stone. Inform World Command, he said. Alien fleet is in retreat from close orbit. Our defenses remain intact. No shots fired. His voice carried a hint of something almost like wonder. What do we call this in the report? Thought for a moment. We call it a stand down by order of an unknown superior. Listened as the signal eased into a softer wave. The main message had been delivered, yet the command pattern beneath it continued, gently rewriting, unlocking, waking. Whatever this voice was, it was not finished with Earth. Not yet. He looked around the control room, tired faces, wide eyes, quiet breaths. We thought we were sending messages into the dark. He said more to himself than to anyone else. We thought we were the ones reaching out. Now we learn we were the ones who had been forgotten. Outside, in the sky no different to the naked eye, unseen shifts continued. Satellites hummed with new purpose. Ground defenses reoriented to invisible alignments. Old code woke from long sleep. And far beyond the alien fleet, somewhere in the deep black between stars, the source of the voice watched its long-lost children begin to stir. Hope, for the first time in a long time, did not feel like a fragile wish. It felt like a memory returning. And Earth, no longer just a target, stood at the edge of something vast and unfinished, waiting for the rest of its forgotten story to unfold. The signal did not vanish after the last clear message. It softened, but it did not leave. It remained like a quiet presence, steady and patient, pulsing through every hidden channel of Earth's machines and skis. The world did not fall into chaos. Instead, it fell into careful silence, as if listening for what came next. Cole sat with his hands resting on the edge of his console. The words still echoed in his mind. You will remember. It did not feel like a threat. It felt like a door opening somewhere inside him. Watched the waveform settle into a slow rhythm. The sharp edges were gone now. The signal had become almost gentle, like a teacher after giving a lesson, waiting to see if the student understood. It is not leaving, she said quietly. It is staying connected. Daniel Brooks nodded, like it expects a response. Exhaled slowly, or it is waiting for us to wake up fully. Outside the lab, the world moved with caution. Traffic slowed. People spoke in low voices. Messages from governments were careful and steady. No one declared victory. No one screamed of doom. The tone across the planet shifted to something new, respect mixed with curiosity. News screens showed images of the alien fleet drifting farther from Earth. The black shapes now looked smaller, less certain. The threat they once held had dulled, as if their power had been pulled away by something they could not see. In orbit, Grant observed the widening distance. The fleet no longer held attack posture. Their motion was gradual but clear. Step by step, every move spoke of obedience, not strategy. Hart watched the telemetry alongside him. They are maintaining distance we would expect from subjects awaiting permission. Said nothing at first. He studied the quiet stars behind them. For the first time in years, his thoughts drifted beyond defense protocols and tactical scenarios. If humanity is truly what that voice claims, he said at last, then we have been living with only half our history. Nodded, and the other half just spoke. Back on Earth, Price tracked the changes in the global grid. The new baseline had stabilized. The systems ran with less waste, fewer errors. The hum of the planet felt smoother, more ordered, as if invisible hands tuned the engines of civilization. She brought up a global diagnostic summary. Overall system efficiency had risen. Failure prediction rates had dropped. Signal clarity between distant nodes improved without any hardware change. "This is impossible by normal logic," she said softly. A colleague gave a small, uncertain laugh. "Maybe normal logic has just been updated." Glanced at the pulse timing graph. The peaks of the signal lined up with key points on the grid. It was not random. It was deliberate guidance. She leaned closer to the mic and spoke into the controlled channel linked to the core array. "We are stable here. The network is not fighting the signal. It is cooperating." His voice returned through the line. "So are we." In the deep space array, the translation engine chirped again. New data rolled in. Not louder, not more urgent, just calmer. The sound pattern shifted into something that felt almost like reassurance. Watched the screen carefully. The semantic engine now pulled more consistent structure from the flow. It no longer struggled as before. It followed the voice naturally, like a child learning the rhythm of a lullaby. The next sequence formed gentle, slow phrases. "You have carried the quiet. You have carried the weight." The world held still as the words moved across networks, satellites, and screens. Felt the meaning settle into his chest. Whoever spoke knew of sacrifice, of centuries under ignorance, of progress made in darkness. Another line followed, steady and calm. "You learned when we slept." Whispered, "It is acknowledging our journey." Nodded, "and forgiving the forgetting." In orbit, received the same sequence on his display. His thoughts drifted to all the lives lived across generations. Farmers, builders, soldiers, thinkers, children. None of them knowing they were part of something older, something once great. "We were not just growing," he murmured. "We were surviving until this moment." Looked at the distant fleet, and they misjudged us. Almost smiled, and now they know better. On Earth, noted another subtle change. Satellite defense arrays began shifting configuration again. Shields redistributed power smoothly, optimizing open angles toward deep space, not toward the fleet now retreating. She frowned slightly. "The system is no longer focused on them," she said. "It is preparing for something else." A pause. "Or someone else." Studied the deeper command pattern layered beneath the speech. It continued to run, modifying control logic and security protocols in ways that still respected human command chains. No lockouts, no forced control, only enhancement. "It is not claiming authority over us," he said. "It is restoring something we forgot we owned." Watched a slow projection form on the side display. A three-dimensional star map shimmered into view. Not one from known charts, but one overlaid with paths that reminded her of old trade routes or travel lanes. "These lines do not match current routes," she said. "They look ancient." Studied the glowing web. It resembles a network of influence, or travel, or command reach. His voice softened with awe. "This is not just a voice speaking. This is a civilization remembering how to speak to its child." Another message formed in the signal. The cadence shifted slightly, like a breath before truth. "We hid you to keep you alive. We watched you from the silence." Closed his eyes for a brief second. Images of distant guardians drifted through his mind. Unseen forces, old watchers, guiding unseen hands through generations. Spoke softly. "Whatever tried to erase us failed." Outside, the alien fleet continued to retreat. Several ships broke formation entirely, moving off in scattered paths, as if eager to place distance between themselves and what now stood over Earth. Observed the change. They are no longer coordinated, they are dispersing. Confirmed, full withdrawal pattern, no indication of re-engagement. Sent the update down the line. Alien forces are abandoning the zone. Earth is clear of immediate threat. He paused, then added, Unknown authority remains active. Back on the ground, governments began shifting posture from emergency to cautious diplomacy. No one knew who to thank, who to contact, or what shape the new future would take, but the fear had lifted, replaced by focused wonder. In the lab, waited as the signal shifted again. The voice felt closer now, warmer, familiar. "This is the final message for now," said. "The intensity is changing." Nodded, listening. And then the words came, slow and clear. "Walk forward. Your time begins again." Sat very still as the meaning settled. The silence that followed did not feel empty. It felt full of promise. Let out a quiet breath. It is not commanding us to rule. It is reminding us to live. Watched the waveform soften further until it became a steady background tone, barely whispering, yet still present, like a heartbeat far away but trusted. Watched her screens as the grid returned to a stable, normal pattern. Not the old normal, a better one, a stronger one. Each line of code now felt refined, cooperative, balanced. "The systems are holding at a new equilibrium," she reported. "No damage, no overload. Whatever intervention occurred has completed its primary phase." Observed the final specks of the alien fleet slipping into distant shadow. The stars behind them seemed calmer now, as if tension had drained from the void. Spoke quietly, "Is this over?" Shook his head slightly. "No, this is the beginning of something different." On Earth, crowds slowly dispersed. People returned to their homes and streets, carrying quiet conversations and wide eyes. Children asked new questions. Adults searched old books and stories with fresh purpose. Every gaze toward the sky now held a different meaning. Stepped away from his console and looked through the reinforced viewing window of the array. The sky beyond was unchanged, yet everything felt altered. Joined him. "Do you ever think about how small we once believed we were?" Gave a faint smile. "Not anymore." He thought of the words, heritage, return, remember. They no longer felt mysterious. They felt like the echo of a long-forgotten name being spoken gently after many years. Crossed her arms, still staring upward. Whatever built that signal did not want us to kneel. It wanted us to awaken. Nodded, and whatever we become next, we walk there by choice. Deep in the stars, far beyond human reach, the silent guardian of the transmission faded its light. Its task for now complete. Not gone. Just resting again, knowing the heirs it had protected were no longer sleeping. Earth stood still beneath the sky, not as prey, not as a prize, but as something remembered and respected. And for the first time, humanity did not look up and feel alone. They looked up and felt seen.